Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. If you love the music of the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond, you're going to want to subscribe so you don't miss out. We have some really big things coming, and we're now a daily channel. Now, some time ago, I did a segment where I covered 5 amazing but seemingly passed over songs from the 80s that I feel like should be much more a part of our overall culture. As I've said before, it seems like whenever a film or a TV series, or a video game for that matter, uses music from the 80s to represent the decade or to conjure up an emotion or a nostalgic feeling, it's like the same 25 or 30 songs get used over and over again. And while they're great songs, I feel like there's so much more to celebrate from that amazing decade. Now, for the record, the last time I chose the songs Mercedes Boy by Pebbles, Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone by Glass Tiger, I Can Dream About You by Dan Hartman, Automatic by the Pointer Sisters, and Something About You by Level 42, which I still maintain is one of the most perfect pop songs ever put to record. So I've decided to choose 5 more. This is my sequel. Now, like the 5 that I chose before, all of these songs charted on one of the major charts, either the Hot 100 or the rock, R&B, or AC charts. But for some reason, I feel like they haven't received their proper due in the present. They haven't been used in pop culture much, and they haven't received as much radio play. It's time to change that. Now, I've included them in a playlist below so that you can listen, see if you agree. Make sure to click below and leave a comment on your feelings, what your 5 are, where I'm right, where I'm wrong, and really listen to these songs. Open your mind to them. They're amazing. Basically, they're 5 fresh and almost never used songs from the 80s that you should resurrect right now. Tunes that are so alluring that you're going to wonder how you've been living without them. Number 5, Say It Isn't So by Daryl Hall and John Oates. Hall & Oates had 21 top 40 hits in the 1980s alone. Let that sink in for a minute. 13 of those went to the top 10 and 6 that went all the way to number 1. Now, there are plenty of their songs that are acclaimed by every generation, and they've crowned entire portions of pop culture, like You Make My Dreams, used in many movies like 500 Days of Summer, which was a perfect use, and The Wedding Singer, just to name a couple. And then there's also I Can't Go For That, No Can Do, and Out of Touch. And then there's the classic Say It Isn't So. It's such a jam, criminally underappreciated, and it should be in the same conversation with the ones I previously mentioned. Say It Isn't So was a big hit, too, at the time. It went to number 2 for a month. It was kept out of the top spot by Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson, their classic duet, Say, Say, Say. Any other week, Say It Isn't So would have been number 1. Go back and listen to this amazing composition. From the very first drum hit and to the brilliant echo from the synthesizer, the song transports you to a different dimension of sound. I love Daryl Hall's soulful vocal where he holds out the last words of Say It Isn't So, and then Hall & Oates' perfect background vocals where they sing Say It Isn't So. I mean, it's just amazing. Heading into that last verse and the chorus where Daryl just takes it all the way downtown with his typical full throttle performance. Now here's the thing, nobody rocks background vocals like Hall & Oates. I mean, the Beatles were beyond stellar and the Beach Boys' harmonies were perfect in a lot of the Motown groups. But the thing about Hall & Oates' approach, it was very unique. Here's what John Oates told me about that in a recent Zoom session.
Daryl and I have a very unique way of doing background vocals. People have always commented over the years, musicians and songwriters and people that I work with always say, man, I love your background vocals. I love your background vocals. It's just a thing, it's a Philadelphia thing. It's a certain way of singing. And what a lot of people, I think, don't understand or not, maybe they don't catch, is that a lot of times our background vocals are actually our chorus.
Yeah.
That's kind of a unique stylistic thing that we do. You look at Out of Touch or even Man Eater for that matter, Say It Isn't So. I mean, the backgrounds are the hook. So we don't treat backgrounds like we don't bury them back in the mix. We put them way up front, almost like a lead vocal.
We're going to do a segment on Hall & Oates very soon. Number 4, My Heart Can't Tell You No by Rod Stewart. When I was growing up, my mom loved Rod Stewart. She listened to his records nonstop, and I know them all. Now, I think she regretted how much she played his music when, as a 3-year-old, I stood up in the middle of church service and sang to the top of my lungs, "If you want my body and you think I'm sexy, come on, sugar, let me know." Yeah, that wasn't a proud moment for her. But anyway, as many great songs as Rod had with the Jeff Beck Group, Faces, and solo in the 60s and 70s, he had some classics in the 80s. I love Some Guys Have All the Luck and Young Turks, which absolutely rock. But when he released My Heart Can't Tell You No, it spoke directly to my heart. Here's the deal. Let me set up the story here. I was in 6th grade, and my first real girlfriend broke up with me for someone 10 times cooler than me. Now, I don't care how young you are when you get your heart broken for the first time. It frickin' hurts. My mom happened to buy the new Rod album out of order that day, and when she was playing it, and the song came on, and it just enveloped my soul. It mirrored exactly how I was feeling. That was a time that I really started to understand what a great vocalist can do with a song that he or she did right. His interpretation was flawless. I mean, go back and listen. On the day that Rod recorded the Simon Climby and Dennis Morgan pen ballad, I'm pretty sure he left it all in the studio. When he sings the chorus, "When the one you love's in love with someone else, don't you know it's torture?" I mean, it's a living hell. It was as if Rod went from finding out that his lover was unfaithful to him, minutes later, stepping into a recording studio and ripping open his soul and laying his emotions right out in front of us. I mean, you can absolutely feel his deep and immense pain and longing, and he transfers that anguish to you as a listener.
My heart can't tell you no. My heart can't tell you no.
You can really feel that devastation. That's why to this day, if anyone says a crossword about Sir Rod, I'm sorry, we can't be friends. This song is a gift and should be played whenever we're going through a heartbreak. It just nails it. Number 3, Reptile by The Church. You know, The Church seemed to come out of nowhere with their 1988 masterpiece, Starfish, which was actually their 5th studio album. But it was their breakthrough in the States nonetheless, as Under the Milky Way, which is a modern rock standard if there ever was one. It hit number 24 on the pop charts, and it hit number 2 on the rock charts, which has led to the song being used in scores of TV and film with its dark and eerie ambiance. Now, I don't feel like their second single from the album gets enough love. Reptile is a classic in its own right, with its just bizarre and ghostly guitar part that instantly pulls you into its grasp. Here's what frontman Steve Kilbey told me about the song. I want to ask you about Reptile. Where did that start? Where did that come from? Because that guitar, it's just so distinct.
Yeah, a guy, I think Reptile did something we never quite managed to do again, and that is the way the parts all play against each other. Like, The Church has always been a band where it's not everything just doing the same thing at the same time. Everything's all working like a machine. I think that was the best ever example of that. The guitar line and the bass and the singing, everything it all happens in a different part of the song. It's sort of like it's a strange song.
Too feeble to let go.
I went home with this woman one night I met in Cantor's, Delhi. Mm-hmm. I went in the bathroom, I was having a piss, and there was a sound behind the shower curtain. I looked behind the shower curtain, there was a great big fucking lizard in there looking at me. And I was like, oh! And the woman goes, oh, you've met Rupert, or whatever his fucking name was. Oh! Whatever the it was, huge thing. I guess that had something to do with it. I was always fascinated by this idea you could get these little creatures, but after a while, you have to get rid of them because they get too big for you to manage. And yeah, the one day they're going to turn around and bite you if you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. I like that metaphor.
Check out the song below in the playlist. You're going to love it. Number 2, Walk of Life by Dire Straits. You know, much like how the Church's Reptile is in the shadow of the equally great song Under the Milky Way, Walk of Life sort of stands in the shadows of Mark Knopfler's classic Money for Nothing. It was the next single, and here's the deal though. Walk of Life is every bit as good with its like Cajun rockabilly sensibilities. It's such a feel-good song. Seriously, play this song when you're down. It is a certified bad mood rally killer. You play it and you're immediately whistling the synth line, you're toe tapping like a madman. I love the lyrics about a singer that performs down in the tunnels trying to make it pay, talking about busking for money. And the songs he plays are all oldies. He references classics like, Bebopalula and I Got a Woman and What Did I Say, Ray Charles, as well as Mac the Knife. The end line is pure poetry, and it's like perfect for the moment that we're in right now. When Mark sings, and after all the violence and double talk, there's just a song and all the trouble and the strife. You do the walk, yeah, you do the walk of life. Beautiful. The song was a hit, going to number 7, and I remember the first time that I heard it on the radio, for about 20 seconds, I thought it was like a new Springsteen single because it was kind of in the vein of Dancing in the Dark and Glory Days. It's just a powerful song that deserves a new life. Number 1, Mary's Prayer by Danny Wilson. For me, this is one of the greatest songs of the 80s by a band that was named after a Frank Sinatra film. Meet Danny Wilson. Man, lead singer and songwriter Gary Clark wrote Mary's Prayer, and it seems to be celebrating a relationship that once was through the eyes of deep regret and sorrow. It's giving the listener a clue that the singer didn't know what he had, truly had, until his Mary was gone. It uses this Catholic metaphor saying, save me, be the light in my eyes. And if I say 10 Hail Marys, leave a light on in heaven for me. Gary Clark has said of the song, it's just a simple love song. In fact, I like to think of it as being like a country and western song. Mary's Prayer was released as a single 3 times between February 1987 and March 1988 in the UK. It reached number 3 finally on the UK singles chart on its 3rd release. The initial UK release in February of 87, it hit number 86, but it was a hit in Ireland. It went to number 5. Germany went to number 35, and South Africa went to number 10. It went to number 23 here in the US, which I'll just say is outright blasphemy. It's a perfect song. And I'll tell you that there has never been a time in my life, whether when I was 12, 18, 25, 33, or now, that I've listened to this song and haven't been absolutely flabbergasted by its brutal sincerity about true regret. I mean, truly, I can't think of a pop song that registers with such stirring remorse and that so flawlessly explores the ultimate pangs of sorrow for what could have been the love of this guy's life. It resonates as emotionally and as deeply as music possibly can. I mean, the way Gary Clark, the singer, expresses it is nothing short of scorched earth.
Save me, be the light.
It's the definition of heartbreak. Go and listen to it for yourself and tell me I'm wrong. I mean, I would give my left arm to talk to Gary about the story behind this song. It's going to happen. It was used in Something About Mary, but for some reason, it hasn't caught on. And I don't get it at all. If you have a heart, you're going to surrender it to this beautiful composition. Man. Well, there you have it. My top 5 80s songs that you should be adding to your listening pool right now. Again, leave us a comment. Tell me your thoughts on these songs. Tell me your choices. Let's talk about music very passionately. Also, if you like what you see, if you are a music fan, true fan, you adore great music, subscribe below and never miss an episode. Also, if you can, support us on Patreon. That helps us to continue to create content and do interviews on the greatest songs and the greatest artists of all time. Now, until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.